also a business standpoint. And then one of the things like with social media and Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn, I always like to promote my clients. And I think it's important for them to feel like I'm a member of their team, not necessarily just their lawyer, but I'm a part of their team. I'm going to market for them. I'm going to try to, push business to them. Now, if they don't put out a good product, I'm not gonna market them. I had someone that I used to work with who tried to plug. He's a movie producer, and he's probably gonna find out who he was if he hears this. But he tried to plug his new movie on my Facebook page, and I promptly took it off. And I told people on my page that you'll often find me promoting my clients and people that I believe in and products that I believe in, but don't ever post something on here without asking me, because if it's on my page, it's something that I stand by and I vouch for.
Right. I saw that, but I was looking for the post. I couldn't find it.
Right. It came off.
Yeah.
It's a movie you'll probably never see.
Right. That's great. So you're a homeowner, right?
Yes, sir.
Have you refinanced yet?
I have. I refied once a long time ago. I think the last time was 2002 or 2003. I couldn't even tell you what my rate is, but I believe it's in the fives. No disrespect to your industry, but I'm a lawyer, but I still find it confusing and just too much paperwork and so forth. So it's one of those things that I try to. It's almost like going to the dentist. You just don't want to do it. But just in talking to you in the green room, I've come to realize that it's probably something I should look into.
I think we've hit the lowest rates ever. Mm-hmm. And as I was leaving the office today, we were just getting phone calls like crazy, and refinancing people into zero closing cost loans. I think a lot of the reason people don't refinance is in the back of their mind, they think their property's lost value. Mm-hmm. They're kind of uncertain as to whether they want to go through all that paperwork.
Right.
And there is paperwork, but you talk to somebody like me, and I can kind of we can have a conversation. I can tell you if it makes sense or not.
All right.
I mean, going from 5% to 3.5%, where they're at today, of course that makes sense, but you have to be able to qualify.
All right.
I think you mentioned that you had a second mortgage, which a lot of people do actually have these home equity lines.
Mm-hmm. That's what I got.
And the limit, the credit limit on those lines exceeds the value of the house.
Right.
But what they don't realize is that they can refinance their first, keep the second, and take advantage of the low rates. And as a self-employed person, which you are, right?
Right.
The qualifications for those types of loans prior to 2009, prior to June 1st of 2009, actually, are pretty much more relaxed than actually the typical refinance these days.
Okay.
We need to talk about that.
Yeah, definitely.
Might be able to help you out.
One of my favorite mottos, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. That makes sense to me.
It does.
Putting more dollars in my pocket. So.
But one of the things that we look at is you're already. When was the last time you refied?
I think we bought the house in 2000. I think it might have been 2003, 2004.
So you're already 9 years in.
Yeah.
Right. So, we have mortgages that can actually tailor the term. So the rate's so low these days that we can actually tailor it to your financial needs too, whether it's cash flow or whether it's just paying the house off early, building equity, whatever you want. Pretty flexible.
One of the things that's, I deal with a lot of business owners, in my practice, and one of the things that I try to impart on them is financial planning. And now I'm going to ask you a question. A lot of times I'll tell people, don't just have a relationship with an accountant to do your taxes. You need to do tax planning. I think mortgages are part of kind of a financial plan. And you were just talking about, cash flow and meeting my financial needs. Do you see mortgages as an instrument for personal financial planning?
Of course. Everybody's different though, right? Mm-hmm. So when somebody comes to me and people come to me from my ads or from hearing stuff on the radio or referrals, and they start off by telling me, hey, I hear rates are 3.5%. I want to get a 3.5% rate. I say, okay, let's talk about your situation, right?
Right.
And it's not just about rate, but rate has a direct reflection on how much payment savings people are going to make or save, Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you can use rate as a tool to build equity. and I take a look at those things. And so when I'm talking to people, like you're a good example, okay? You got a 5% rate, right? But you're 9 years into your loan. When I refinance you, it's going to be at a lower loan amount than what your original 5% payment was based on. Right. So not only you have savings from the rate there, but you have savings from the balance reduction, the principal reduction. One of the questions I'd ask you is, do you need all this cash flow, or do you want to put some of that back into your mortgage? Because you can refinance into a, let's just say, we'll speculate, you can refinance into a 20-year loan at a lower interest rate, still have payment savings. Let's say you wanted to just say keep your same payment, like you're comfortable with your current payment, right? You could say, I'm comfortable with my payment. I just want to have a better financial plan. We can put you into the new loan. You can continue to make your payment that you're used to making, and your equity will build much faster. You'll pay off the loan in 10 years, maybe, something like that. We take a look at those things. I mean, the other thing that I look at too is someone that's got a 5% rate and they've been watching the rates and they want to catch the market at the very bottom.
Right.
And for all these months, they've been watching the rates. And so the other people that have come to me, I refinanced them at 4, then the rates got lower, and I refinanced them at 3.75, then the rates got lower, and now I'm refinancing them at 3.5%. And those people were smarter about it. The people that sat around and kind of waited without really kind of digging in, I can do those analyses that say, here's the cost of waiting, and here's what we can do as we go forward. And sometimes I turn people away. I mean, if they're paying all principal, sometimes it doesn't make sense to just refinance the mortgage.
Is there any limit to how many times you can refinance in any particular?
There isn't, but there's a thing called churning that lenders are. It's been a problem with the industry. It's one of those things that's contributed to the overall kind of problems in our mortgage industry. As rates go down, there are people that love to chase the rate, and they try to refinance as often as possible. And so lenders are they're not necessarily prepayment penalties in place, but they're penalizing the originator. So every 4 to 6 months, you could probably refinance safely. Lenders are also now looking at whether it makes sense for you to refi. So they're actually looking at whether there's a benefit to the borrower. They're not just allowing brokers to make money off of people by just refinancing them again and again and again. So, yeah, definitely part of a financial plan. I mean, it has to be. One of the things that is a strength of mine that I enjoy talking to people that ask me those types of questions, because when we can talk on that same level, you can see that everything's kind of out on the table. If it's going to make sense, I mean, the numbers don't lie. And I have these tools where you can say, is it going to make sense? And I can plug in, as an example, I can plug in where you started, how much you've paid to date, what we could put you in today, and whether you really save money, right? Because you're 10 years into a loan, you've paid a lot of interest, so the amount of principal that you pay per payment is more of the payment than just the interest portion. I mean, maybe it doesn't make sense to go into another 30-year fixed. Maybe it makes sense to go into a shorter-term loan, save you money. So, I mean, those are the types of things we look at. It's definitely a financial planning aspect to it. So, Dan, thanks a lot for coming in today. Appreciate that. And, what's interesting is I learned a little bit more about you too today. Love to have you back on the show.
I'd love to be back.
Hopefully, you promote your show appearance here and a little bit about me and my business up on your webpage.
Absolutely,
I promise I won't do it, so you don't take me down.
Right. No, I'll definitely promote this, and I appreciate you having me.
Mortgage Savvy Radio appreciates you being here. So thanks again.
Thank you.
We have a beautiful feature property for this week, and it's brought to us by Lance Fogel with Keller Williams Newport Estates. The great thing about this property is that it is a bank-approved short sale, so no messing around here. The bank is serious about selling this property. It sits front row overlooking the rolling hills of Crystal Cove and the beautiful Pacific Ocean. If you're looking for an 8,000 square foot home with 6 bedrooms and 6 bathrooms with beautiful attention to detail, you need to go check out this property. There's an open house today from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And again, the special thing about this property, if you're looking for a great deal, it's a bank-approved short sale. No messing around with this bank. So if you have an offer, they're willing to look at all reasonable offers. You can contact Lance Fogel through our website. The information for this property is posted up there at facebook.com/Swift Loans. You can look at pictures of the property, information about the property. You can click through to Lance's website. You can contact Lance. And again, you can go take a look at the open house today from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. So what are interest rates going to do next week? Let's take a look at what my prediction is. It's simple because rates are going to stay low. You can't go wrong with the rates right now. They're at all-time lows. Again, as I mentioned earlier in the show, I think Freddie Mac said that the 30-year fixed rate is a record low of 3.49%. What happens, though, is that interest rates are going to oscillate or fluctuate from day to day, sometimes within the same day. The best way to target, track, and execute on the lowest rate lock is to be prepared to lock. Go to my website, go to swiftloanfunding.com. You can fill out, we call it our fast quote. From a day-to-day basis, you'll be notified as to whether rates are up or rates are down. But what I do in the background is I watch the market from day to day and intraday. And if we see the rates fluctuating at the optimum point of locking, then as long as you're ready, we've gone through that process, I'll lock your rate. So rates are staying low. You want to take advantage of the absolute lowest rate? Go to my website. Get started. I'll track the market for you. We'll lock you at the lowest possible rate. Our guest for next week. We have another great guest next week. Her name is Shadi Schaefer. She's on the board of the Pacific Youth Symphony of Orange County. It's part of the Pacific Symphony. It's based here in Orange County. She's also an attorney, and she specializes in asset protection. And if you thought you knew asset protection, you haven't heard it all until you've heard from Shadi on our show next week. Thanks for listening this week, and thanks to our guest, Dan Alexander. My name's Jim Creamer. I want to help you make a better buy on your next home, so tune in next week here at 8 a.m. for Mortgage Savvy Radio. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Mortgage Savvy Radio is brought to you by Swift Loan Funding. You'll find them online at swiftloanfunding.com and on their Facebook site at facebook.com/Swift Loans. Be sure to tune in next Saturday morning at 8 a.m. for Jim Creamer's Mortgage Savvy Radio, right here on KOCI.